Welcome to the chase. You know, we're all running this race. We're all trying to claim victory in it. In my job, I get to sit down with wealthy people all week long. I hear about their wins, I hear about their losses, and quite frankly, like a bartender, I hear about their heartache. And I don't want you to run that type of race, or at least I want you to succeed at the race that you're running, and I want you to succeed at something that matters. Think about it like this. All the while you're chasing after something that's good, God's chasing you with something great. Well, hello, I'm Chris McAlpin, your host for the Chase podcast, where we talk about money. We talk about the financial world. We talk about economics, and occasionally we talk about politics. And we do this with a biblical lens. And the reason that we want to look at the world with a biblical lens is there is enough fear-mongering in society these days. I mean, our society just like serves it up in dishes and buffets, a little bit skewered, a little bit grilled, a little bit sauteed, and just it's almost like we're soaking in fear these days. And granted, listen, the world is absolutely in chaos. It seems to be melting down. And good gracious, just look on any of your favorite news channels, and they will tell you just how bad the world is. They'll just tell you, how bad all the people are that are causing it. And they'll tell you who you need to hate. They'll tell you why you need to hate them, and they'll tell you what causes you need to be in favor of. And so I want to talk about really what's going on in the world and look at it through the financial markets lens. But because here we go. The markets are falling, no doubt about it. I mean, just recently there was a headline in the Wall Street Journal, an article that was written, the worst bond market since 1842. And then there's the high-flying tech stocks. I mean, I don't own this one, by the way. So here's the big disclaimer. I'm not recommending you buy it. AMC, yes, that AMC. The stock price is down to where it was before it took off in February or so of 21, I believe it was. I'm doing this a little off the cuff, a little from memory. But the big meme stock that just shot through the roof when all the stimmy checks came out and the hedge funds got put in the short squeeze. Yes, it's back down at that price. I think it probably means that the market believes that that's the fair market value of it. Just maybe, I don't know. Just considering that one right there. No doubt about it. We look at what's going on in Europe. You look at what's going on in Ukraine. You look at what's going on in China and Southeast Asia, the zero COVID policy stuff. The cities are shutting down. I mean, it is pretty chaotic. No doubt about it. And I want to talk about a topic today of what do we do in financial bad times? Because this is a real topic. This is one we need to tackle. It's one I want you to be able to handle well, okay? And if you like what we're doing on the show, this is what I want you to do. Do me this favor, please. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcasts, or go to YouTube and subscribe to the Sound Financial Strategies Group channel there where you'll get the chase. All right? Give us a thumbs up, give us a like, comment, tell us what you think about us, because we want to deliver good education. And I want to talk to you in a way that makes sense, okay? I think there's a lot of craziness out there. There's a lot of people out there pushing an agenda, but here we go. These are the facts. If you look at the S&P 500 total return, so let's just take one of the most common stock market indexes used in the world today, the S&P 500 total return. And yes, at the recording of this show on May the 10th, I believe it is. Yes, May the 10th, at the close of business, it's down year to date. It's negative 15.6%. It's knocking on the door of bear market territory, no doubt about it. The NASDAQ is absolutely into train wreck space. It's headed there as fast as it can go. It was at negative 25% or so yesterday when I saw the stats on that. If we look at the bond markets, if we look at the Barclays bond aggregate, and it's going to be somewhere around the negative 9.5% space, depending on what index you want to look at. You're going to see bond markets at negative 9 to a negative 11. It could go a little bit deeper depending on how far out on the maturity date you look. And if you've run the cash is technically losing a truckload to inflation right now. So it's one of those times where it just feels like there's nowhere to hide other than to stick your cash in a coffee jar and stick it in the back. But I just told you, you're losing technically the cash. So in many ways, let's be serious for a minute. In many ways, it is definitely one of the worst bond markets in decades. I know that I heard this on a report. A lot of the Bloomberg reporters were saying that on their data screen, they were talking about Bloomberg terminals, that on that screen, that it was the worst markets of all the Bloomberg data. That's pretty hefty. Okay. What do we think is going to happen? Here's our investment committee's opinion as a whole. Okay. This is not investment advice, and this is really just for the show, that the Federal Reserve has to fight inflation. They have to raise rates until inflation starts to come down. And this is called QT, because we've had a decade to 13 years of 10 to 13 years of QE, which is quantitative easing. They now have to tighten that. So the Fed is going to tighten interest rates until it stops inflation. And when they feel like they've stopped inflation, they will probably pivot and go the other direction. That may take 9 to 12 months. Right. So we are probably looking at a year where stocks and bonds are going to sell. Now hang on. Bonds, we believe bonds might be bottoming out here in the month of May. So you could see some space in here where we could see some growth. We like what we're seeing in that space at the moment. It's not time to panic. This is time to think. And that's what this show is about today. What do you do when markets are getting bad? So let's talk about it. Number one, have perspective. Okay. Breathe. Stop. Just think a minute. And no matter what happens to you, never, ever, ever does your money define who you are. And if it is, please sit down and talk to me. Let's talk about the Lord. Let's talk about how much God loves you and that it doesn't define who you are. You cannot carry the weight of financial success or failure on your shoulders as if it is defining who you are inside. I honestly think that in bad times, that is one of the hardest topics for people to grasp. Because listen, I'll admit, this is hard for me. This is what I do for a living. And yes, like a lot of people, where my career can, if I allow it to happen, it starts to define who I am. And I want to succeed. Yes, I want to succeed for my clients. I want to succeed for our team here at Sound. I want to succeed for my family. I want to be great. I want to be able to beat my chest and say, wow, we called that market. If I'm really honest, that's what I'd love to be able to do. Guess what? I don't have a crystal ball. And even if I did call this market, it'll be forgotten next year because there'll be another market that we need to call in a few years from now. Your money can never define who you are. So that is the first part of having perspective. And the second one is if we start off with the headlines, the worst bond market since 1842, have some perspective that the bond market's down 10%. And by the way, in 1842, bonds were traded like stocks. It is no comparison in any shape, form, or fashion. So if this is the worst bond market, like a bond market is -10, and that compares to a stock market that's -50 or so, give or take, then wow, anybody who's investing in the stock and bond markets of the world should be able to take a 10% loss and stay invested so that you can succeed in the future. And respectfully, if you can't handle that 10% loss, that ride, we've talked about it on this show, we've talked about it in other seminars and lecture series that we've done, that is just a part of investing in the stock and bond markets of the world. If you cannot, you need to seek other investments. And that's okay if you can't. Okay, even if you're getting a little nervous right now, have some perspective that we're in a weird season of time when everything has gone down. That is not normal in the investment world. Investments are uncorrelated. And right now, what the Fed is doing, it's going to break up some of this correlation and coupling that we've had for the last decade. I think in the long run, this will be good for the markets. So number one, what do you do when markets are going down? What do you do in bad economic times? Have perspective. Number two, control what you can control. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go watch the news tonight. Whenever you get the next chance, I want you to go watch the news. I want you to soak it all in. I want you to really watch it. And I want you to ask yourself this question. Can you control anything that's happening on that news channel? I'm going to tell you the answer is no. You cannot control it. See, we have this weird thing going on with the 24-hour news cycle that we have these days. And this has been going on for 10 or 15 years or longer. There was a time when an educated, wise adult paid attention to the news that was going on in the world. And this is what it looked like. You got up in the mornings and you read the local paper that had a small national section, small global section. You read that in the morning while you drank coffee and ate your breakfast, right? And then when you came home from work at night, you watched the local news channel, 30 minutes, which had a small local, small national segment on it, has small global segment on that local news station. And then you were done with the news. You were caught up for a day and you knew what was going on in the world. And I can remember this going back in the 80s, there was a big segment one night, breaking news, genuinely breaking news. And it was probably President Reagan. I was a little boy. I really wasn't paying that much attention. And my dad made everybody in the house shut up and pay attention to the TV because this was something big, because the news stations had broken in to the regular scheduled show for the president to speak. And everybody should pay attention. Well, now we have a 24-hour news cycle tailor-made just for your opinion that will tell you, as I said a second ago, who to hate, who not to trust, who to what to have an opinion on. And we must be enormously careful with this because we don't have a filter of what to do with all this information that's coming into our lives. And I can tell you that from the financial news, you don't have a filter to deal with all the information that's coming into your life. I don't have a filter to take care of it. And I do this for a living all day, every day. And I still don't have a filter and a bucket to put all that information into. So we have teams of people working on stuff at Sound. So control what you can control. And one of the first things that you should do is turn the news channels off. Here we go. Number two, control what you should control. Okay, and this is what I mean by that. I'm speaking to you about your income plan and your investments. In times like this, it's very tempting to go rebalance, to go trade, to go run to cash. And I can't give investment advice on a show like this because I don't know you who are listening specifically in this context, but I suspect that is a bad idea for you. There's this weird thing that happens that in times like this, that people do one of two things. They get really fearful, and all of a sudden something can trigger it and they want to run the cash, or they get really brave and they think, I'm a hedge fund trader and I'm going to start bam, 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 and I'm going to make all the right moves and I'm going to trade. And in both cases, most likely, those are bad ideas for you. Okay, so I said, control what you can control. Number two, control what you should control. And one of the best ways to do that is by focusing on your long-term plans and your goals. Okay, because that will start to focus and shape your ideas into what you should be controlling financially in times like these. So first, do you have a financial plan? Maybe in retirement, it's called a retirement income plan. And does your investment plan fit your financial plan? Okay. For example, have you sat down with your advisor and walked through the steps of saying, these are my financial goals. This is how we're going to get there. And this investment plan over a long period of time of testing and managing that data and looking at it and making sure it fits will help me reach my financial goals. Because I've said this a lot. Money's just a tool. It's a tool that part of that tool is to allow you to reach your financial goals. All right. Does your investment plan allow you to reach your financial goals? Okay. If the answer to that is yes, you need to start from the perspective of, then I should make no changes. Okay. That's where you should start from. And then you allow data at times like this to drive you into making changes. And I said data, facts, what's going on, not speculation and bad news. Okay. But data and facts. So if your investment plan fits your financial plan and your plans haven't changed, then you need to take a light look at your investment plans to see if you change those. I'm in no way saying that we don't change. I'm in no way saying that we don't adapt as circumstances change. The Fed's gone from quantitative easing to quantitative tightening. You're doggone right that we're making change in our investment strategies here, but it is due to the facts that are going on in the world. And it is due to studying those facts, testing those facts, and seeing what changes we should make and stepping into those changes at an appropriate pace. Okay. It's not a knee-jerk, emotional driven answer. So a decision, you need to be careful of that. So I said, focusing on your plans and long-term goals or long-term plans and goals. First, do you have a plan? Are you sticking with that plan? Second, does this long-term plan help you reach those goals? Okay. So have those goals changed? Those goals changed. You need to change those plans. Have life circumstances changed? And yes, and then you need to change. If the answer to that is no, then slow down. You need to go focus on creating a plan. You need to go focus on looking at your goals and seeing how do you get to those goals and how do you get to those plans. Okay. And last, do not chase this market. Okay. I said this a second ago. A lot of people are tempted to go chasing and making these emotional decisions. We said this a couple of years ago on the show when a lot of those that were at home with stimulus checks and were chasing some of the meme stocks up. And I said, hey, good for you. I looked at the camera and I said, good for you. I day traded back in 1999 to pay for a part of school. Okay. Absolutely boneheaded lucky. Okay. Thought I was really smart at the time, but it was pure luck. Okay. Wasn't near as good as I thought I was. Actually, I wasn't good at all. But I was lucky, made a little bit of money and got to pay for school in London for the summer. It was actually a lot of fun. All right. And I looked at the camera and I said, good for you. Now you better manage risk. Well, okay. On those meme stocks, I imagine that the time to manage risk has already passed. You're probably in for a penny, in for a pound. Okay. That's not true in other places. A part of investing wisely is managing risk and continuing to manage risk. And so that should be a part of an investment portfolio. That investment portfolio should be a part of your financial plans, and those plans should help you reach your financial goals, which then that's what you're focusing on is managing your financial plan. And that's the part that you can and should control. Okay. And then it gives you good, wise perspective and a way to look at the financial world. You're able now to look at the news and filter what you're seeing and go, oh, that doesn't affect me. That doesn't affect me. That doesn't affect me. Okay. We were at a client event the other night and clients were pulling up their phones and showing the list of stocks on their phones, stocks, bonds, and different things that had happened. And I get it. And I say what I'm about to say very respectfully. I mean, I got that on my phone too, but I tell people all the time, if you don't know what to do with that information, why are you looking at it? And I would challenge any of you, if you don't do this for a living, why are you looking at it every day? Please don't do that to yourself. I'm going to promise you when I retire, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to look at it every day. I certainly don't look at my own account every day. I don't look at my own account anymore than I look at any other client's accounts. Don't do that to yourself because you don't have a filter to be able to deal with the noise. All right. Here we go. Last, I'm going to end with this. Proverbs 3 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. All right, let's think about this a minute, because Everybody has heard, whether you're in church a lot or not, you've heard this verse, right? Christians hear it a lot. And I'm afraid that we don't listen to this. It's almost one of those verses we've heard too many times, that Christians fail to trust God. This is God of the universe saying, I love you. I've got this chaos under control, believe it or not. And I'm going to handle it one day, but you can't handle all the chaos. So trust me, stop trusting yourself. And so this is actually awesome news. This is not a kind of Debbie Downer bad news, but this is really God is saying, trust me. The world is a broken wreck. Anarchy rules, and it's going to get worse. The only hope in creation is the day that Christ comes back and remakes all things new. That is the only hope we have. Okay. How does that affect us today? That does a couple of things for us today. And it does this for us financially as well. So listen to me here. All right. It gives us hope in the future. It gives us confidence that one of these days it's all going to be solved. And in the meantime, we live with a ton of joy, a ton of hope. We go work hard. We go use our best and highest intellect. We go use our most creative solutions to solve some of the world's biggest and nastiest problems. And we solve some of the smallest and nitpicking problems in our own lives the same way. We tackle the problems in the world that need great solutions, and the problems in our lives that need solutions with great ambition. We give it our best. And it's not one of those, I'm just going to do my best and see how it all falls out. Absolutely not. We go chase success. We go chase excellence. But we know this, that neither our success nor our failure defines us. And it's okay in the end, because one of these days, Christ is going to step in and solve it. And Christ, the Lord God, is a God who loves you. He is for you. He's not against you, right? And that allows us to look at the bad events in the world. And it allows us to look at the bad financial markets in the world and say, it's okay. It will be okay. This may be painful for the moment. This may be tough for the moment, but I am going to have joy because there's a God who loves me. There's a Savior who died for me. And in the end, it's going to work out well. And I am going to live well in between. So in bad times, have perspective, control what you can control, focus on your plans and your goals. Okay. And remember this, all while you're chasing something, God is chasing you with something great. Take care. God bless.
For disclosure and citation information, please go to www.soundfsg.com/disclosures.